Reporting Media. Here's your host, Mark Merrill.
Welcome, folks, and thank you for joining us here on Firm. Is common sense a lost behavior? We want to ask you. What, ladies and gentlemen, would you say has happened to our culture and society over the past 25 to 30 years? What seems to be missing or possibly forgotten by American citizens that we have taken for granted and now find ourselves sometimes thinking, I remember when, fill in the blanks. Now, we're going to go through a few occurrences and issues over the past 4 years of our cultural and societal incidents and forced realities, if you will, folks. First, about Firm. We've dedicated our organization to these very important, not just mottos or slogans, but we believe here at Firm are the foundations of our Constitution that was ratified in 1791. Truth, facts, reality, and common sense. Can't really beat it if you think about it, folks. I mean, why should we? I travel the highways and byways, if you will, of central, southern, and parts of eastern Maine with my vehicle. It's plastered with "We the People," and we'll get to that phrase a little bit later. Anytime you see violations of any of these, not just mottos or logos, but we believe our mission goals for all time: truth, facts, reality, and common sense, which is what we're talking about on today's program, folks. Is common sense a lost behavior? Well, let's think about it as we go through some of the things that we've had to deal with, okay, whether we liked it or not. And, of course, why are we starting here with Mr. Wonderful, who is giving us a hard time to begin with? It seems to be the case, doesn't it? California National Guard. Why Trump had to do what Gavin Newsom refused to do. If he's not going to do the right thing to protect all citizens of California, which he really doesn't give a frig about, and you know he doesn't, just like us stuck up here in Maine with Janet Queen of Denial Mills, President Trump represents the federal government. You want to keep blaming it on one person, all of you radicals out there. Well, you know what? You're wrong. And you've always been wrong, dating back to the plans to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. Deal with that. That's just one, folks. We're not going to go through a menagerie or a continuation of every single thing that's happened over the last 4 years, unfortunately under the criminal and coup d'etat takeover of our United States government and most of our states by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Never mind the monetary and cynical and corrupt and calculated manipulations of leaders in Congress, state governors, state legislatures, state councils, city councils, you name it. Donald Trump represents what we just showed you, folks. Truth, facts, reality, and common sense when it comes to running the United States of America. Not hate and violence. We appreciate your comments as well, folks. We'll say it right now and we'll show it to you later. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Right there. Firm. Next, of course, we have to get along to the next one as we go down here a little bit with our camera. Title IX is law. These are pictures right here, folks, that were posted long before Laurel Libby put her post on it down up here back in the month of June, I believe it was. And guess what it had already gathered before Laurel Libby had posted her comments on it? She posted 6 days after this was posted back in May, possibly the beginning of June. 101,000, never mind the 10, 101,000 responses to this. And 60,000 comments. Both good and bad, I'm sure. It's a free country. And 17,000.8 shares. So the censure of Laurel Libby was all for naught by Janet Mills, Attorney General Aaron Frey. Yeah, and I'm going to throw a couple of women in there who were behind it as well, even though they weren't in office. Sarah Gideon, one time Speaker of the House, no longer. Rachel Talbot Ross, a brief tenure for whatever reason. We don't know those facts, so we won't mention them, folks. But she was behind this. You can bet your bottom dollar. And Speaker Ryan Fecteau. Now, how about this young man? He stormed out of the House of Representatives here in the state of Maine in Augusta when Laurel Libby finally got the news from the Supreme Court by a very hefty, positive reaction to reinstate her presence just before the House of Representatives and the rest of the Maine legislature was getting ready to so-called finish business. Give me a break. Stormed out of the House of Representatives because he couldn't stand to hear her talk. She was allowed to talk after that Supreme Court ruling on issues facing the entire state of Maine, but was not allowed to speak about her own opinion on the issues of the day. That's changed. Transgenderism in women's sports has got to stop, ladies and gentlemen, and you damn well know it. It must. Next up, staying in that same vein, folks, the transgender issue itself. This man and woman here been traversing the country just about everywhere to make sure that the transgender movement is abolished. Stopped. It's not the law. Never has been and never should have been to begin with. No thanks to Biden and Harris. This gentleman is Chris Elston, who poses beside, you may recognize, Chloe Cole, who previously underwent transgender surgery before rejecting transgenderism and embracing her biological womanhood. Mr. Elston shows in his sign, if you may not be able to read it, says Dad, which is a noun, a human male who protects his kids from gender ideology. And Chloe's sign reads, children cannot consent to puberty blockers. Let that one sink in. Everybody. More recently, folks, you are familiar with President Trump signing the order to fully stop the transgender movement, no thanks to LGBTQ, and GLAAD, who is the primary organization who needs to be disbarred if they have any legal backing, and disbanded for their acts of violence against the rest of the United States. That's our view here at Firm. Believe me, folks, it's exactly what needs to be done is to get GLAAD out of our society so that we can have happiness and our liberties not questioned, and our organizations that they want burned to the ground. The pro-life centers, which we have many here in Maine, but around the country. Also, Mr. Trump, after that one, this one came a little bit later, but none too soon. He cut tens of millions of dollars from funding for Planned Parenthood. Of course, they're going to fight back and that sort of thing, folks, but we can't wait till they're out of business. We want to thank ACLJ, who we are a member of, folks, from day one, back in 2022. American Center for Law and Justice and Jay Sekulow. Next. Of course, there has to be a place to put the rounded up illegals in this country. ICE organization through the DHS and also, of course, the DOJ. So, Donald Trump put the organization right on the map and some funding to build a place where they could be housed until they can be deported. Welcome to Alligator Alcatraz. Great picture, isn't it? You go outside and you try to escape if you're one of those inmates, temporary though they are, until they get deported to their natural country of origin. Nothing but alligators, snakes, and all kinds of nasties in the waters that surround this piece of land to keep them under control. And as we continue here on Firm, folks, the common sense part of our organization, Truth, Facts, Reality, and Common Sense, is it a lost behavior? You can answer us at fairnessandreportingmedia@gmail.com. Lastly, folks, we're very happy to show this one right here, which is all about finally getting the demands of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and environmental and social and governance in state governments, city and town councils, gone. Not to mention major corporations like Disney, Google, or Alphabet, whichever you prefer. one more we wanted to throw in there, folks, before we began the program. Way back, not too many years ago, but at least 3 or 4 years ago, right at the very beginning of right near the end, I should say, of Trump's first term, 2016 to 2021, the ACLJ, as we just mentioned, was sending notices out, as they have on a regular basis, folks. Government spies infiltrating our churches, right here in America. Not to mention our own here in Maine, folks. But one lead or head pastor of one of our Christian organizations, a Pentecostal church, whose name will remain anonymous. Bless him and his family for his standing up to Janet Mills and kept church open by holding services outside during the summer of her tyranny and corrupt dictatorship, as far as we're concerned. You'd think this was Russia, says the ACLJ in this post. China, North Korea. It's happening in America. Government agents were infiltrating at the time churches like ours, springing up and spying on people of faith just like us. The Biden FBI planted undercover agents inside churches to spy on believers. For a country founded on religious liberty, this is an egregious offense against all faiths. Luckily, we have the Whistleblower Act. But some of these people who spoke up and posted to the federal government for an investigation so that they could safely testify in front of Congress. One of them is still acting out there. Matt Taibbi, you may recall. An FBI whistleblower produced an alleged internal FBI memo with instructions for agents on how to spy on, quote, radical traditionalists and their ideology. We're the radicals. Really? Wow. Well, you know, Jesus had his time in front of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. He proved them wrong real quick. These folks, of course, are our precious children. Make sure that we always cherish them and make sure that they are guided by the one and only who created not only our churches and our beliefs, but mankind altogether. Biological men and biological women. Never forget. So as for the rest of us here, folks, and the entire law-abiding and biologically civil men, women, and children in America, less, of course, the 2 to 3% of radicals and elitist millionaires and politicians, if you don't mind, here's some constant words of dignity and compassion to keep always on your desk, in your car, and in your hearts. As it reads, the Declaration of Independence in Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States at the time. when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them, the people, under absolute despotism, it is their right, the people, it is their duty, the people, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain at that time is a history of repeated injuries, usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. And to prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And it goes on, folks. We've all had the tyranny, treason, and corruption over the last 4 years. Longer. And now it's about time it stopped. For Firm, as always, Fairness in Reporting Media, I'm your host, Mark Merrill. Please check our links for right now, folks, Twitter or X.com, YouTube.com, and as we said throughout the program, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, send us an email. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Stay safe, everyone. Peace to all.